The John LeBang Show has been known to make people laugh, sing, think, scream, throw things in rage, and generally lose their minds. Listener discretion is advised. Disappears. ICE tracks everyone. CERN, Headline News, and much, much more. That is what is awaiting you in this hour of the John LeBang Show. Greetings and salutations. I'm your host, John LeBang. Thank you for joining me for another hour of jam-packed information. Before we get started into that information, we've got our weekly 3-question quiz. The winner of the 3-question quiz will get a Dark Clouds t-shirt, John LeBang CD, and coffee mug. Our first question is, who is Sergio Bertolucci, and what did he say about CERN? Is it A, CERN could open otherworldly doors to other dimensions for a very tiny lapse of time? B, CERN could control the weather, or D, CERN was a useless machine? Our second question, what did Alex Jones say he was during his divorce hearings? Is it A, the only voice in alternative media, B, he is a performance artist, or C, he is a member of the Bohemian Grove? And our final question, how much money did the Obamas make during his presidency? Is it A, 1.2 million, B, 10.8 million, or C, 4.1 million? Remember, you've got to go to the website, www.jlebang.com, to answer those questions. And the third person to answer those questions correctly will win that prize package I mentioned earlier. So we had an interesting week in the news cycle. We had the text messages that weren't there, but then they found them, and they didn't really say much, although a lot of things were said in there, including secret societies, and the entire interweb went crazy over the secret societies. You know, they're playing you, right? The alternative media out there. I don't know where they've gone, by the way, the alternative media. They've just disappeared entirely outside of the weirdos. But the people that were really, doing hard work to prevent Hillary Clinton from making the presidency, they don't have the same vigor now that Donald Trump is in office. And a lot of them are just cheerleading on. So they've just disappeared. And the ones that aren't part of the cheerleading group, they're running after imaginary news. Just a bunch of stuff that might be interesting, could spark your imagination, but it's fake news like we've been talking about here on the John LeBang Show. But now the alternative sector of the media has gone off the deep end a little bit when it comes to this. We've got the Q clearance thing. We covered that here on the John LeBang Show a few weeks back, maybe a month ago. I don't even remember. It was last year. I forgot we were off all that time. We've been back full steam, ladies and gentlemen, and you won't imagine how busy we are running this operation with now 3 hours steady each and every week. So sometimes I forget when things actually happened. But yeah, that was a few months ago. Yeah, it was interesting, but here's Q clearance now on 4chan, 8chan, questionable sites for that matter. And people are following him, and that's great and all, but is it newsworthy? Is it really something you should be paying attention to? Or is it just some guy everybody's following and they think he's somebody important? Then we've got the Mandela effectors out there. I don't know if you're familiar with that. We have spoken about that a time or two on this show, but Mandela effect wraps around the largest machine on the planet called CERN. We'll get to that one a little later because CERN is a very important subject to talk about, and a lot of people do not know what CERN is. So we'll get into that a little later. But people believe that CERN is bringing in other dimensions and making our timeline change and things in our timeline change. And there's no evidence to support that, just people remembering things differently than what actually is right now. And because of that, they think some giant things going on where this and that other dimension are bleeding into ours. And that's wrapped around CERN. Like I said, I'll get into that later. Then we got the flat earthers, and there's a whole bunch of the flat earthers out there. And it kills me because these people who are barking up the flat earth tree, none of them are ever leave their home, their city, their state. They're not world travelers, right? A great majority of these flat earthers are not world travelers. Yet they're experts. They're experts in the composition of the planet Earth. If they even call it a planet, they might call it a plane at this point. If it's flat, you can't be a planet if you're flat. I mean, I don't think so. Technically, there are not any flat planets that I know exist, according to scientific research, scientific study. But the flat earthers who never leave their bedroom, hardly leave their city, hardly ever leave their state and go 3,000 or 4,000 miles away from their little nest there, they're experts in the composition of the planet. It's just great. And a lot of people are flat earthers. I've got them on my Facebook, and they promote the flat earth theory. And I'm sorry, but even if it was, ladies and gentlemen, even if the world is flat or round, it doesn't matter. Could be a box, could be a yo-yo. It doesn't matter what it is. We're here. We've got to live on this thing. And since 99.99% of human beings are never going to go out beyond this planet into the vast reaches of space, at least the ones that exist now. We don't know about the future. The majority of us are not going to go into space and be able to look at it and go, oh, the earth is round, or ooh, the earth is flat. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You got to live your life. And if the earth being flat or round is really like something that is a focus of your life, you're spending a lot of time on something that doesn't matter to you or to most of us, because we have to live here, whether it's flat, round, liquid, whatever. But people still do it, and it frustrates me, as you can tell, ladies and gentlemen. This stuff eats at me because I am thrown into the realm of alternative media. So the taint that these people have on them, it stinks. It comes over and stinks on me too. And I'm one of the few, and I'm going to just brag a moment here, I'm one of the few that at least attempts to try to give you solid information. I don't tell you to believe me. I leave links. You can go to my website, all that, to do your own research. But I try not to go off into this realm of, oh, these weird things are what is. We talk about them, we discuss them, and I let you decide what you think. I also tell people how I feel about things, which rubs people the wrong way, but, that's not where we're going here. we're looking at the alternative media right now and how they've gone either off the deep end or they've gone completely silent on the current administration. Sure, they still attack the Democrats, the progressives, and rightfully so. But the recent revelation that Donald Trump might possibly start talking the DACA amnesty deal in exchange for money for the border wall. And I've been given grief from a whole lot of people. Even the tax bill, a lot of people look at that as a major success for the Trump administration. Sure, it might be for that, but it wasn't exactly what DT promised us. Corporate got 14%. The individual who pays the majority of taxes in this country got 2%. But now we're supposed to make a deal to get money for the wall, even though his campaign promises, probably one of his seminal campaign promise was to get Mexico to pay for the wall. And since he hasn't been able to find a way to do that, apparently, now we got to make a deal with people who don't want to make deals with you. So you got to give them something that's completely against what the people who voted for you, Mr. Trump, expected. We didn't want to legalize a bunch of people just to do so you could get your wall. If you can't pay for the wall the way you, Mr. Trump, you suggested during the campaign, and that is to get Mexico to pay for that, then that wall shouldn't go up. Because it's not what you promised. Very much like the Obamacare. And that falls right into the laps of the entire Republican Party. They were supposed to get rid of Obamacare. Gone forever now. The only time they even came close is when Obama was in office. So the alternative media, who will cheer that Donald Trump did this executive order and that executive order, even though they complained during the Obama administration that he was doing too many executive orders. The argument is, of course, that he's getting rid of this executive order and that executive order. But the more executive orders these guys do, the more the next guy's going to do. It doesn't stop. Trump should be pushing for Congress to make these things law. And that's another thing with the tax plan. The corporate tax rate drop, that's a permanent thing. The individual tax rate on the income tax, nah. That's not permanent. It can go up at any time. I just had a small debate the other day with a gentleman who's a R to the core. Just like those D's out there that just vote D. They're D no matter what. Well, you got an R to the core, and he's all happy. And he gives me that boring argument. Well, the corporations give everybody jobs. What a lame argument. The corporations wouldn't exist if people didn't buy their products. So at very worst, it's a symbiotic relationship. And who are the people that buy things? The people that earn the money and the people that the government takes the money from and hands it out to somebody else. Those people spend money too, apparently. Anyways, folks, we're up against our first break. We've got a lot in store for you, as I said in the opening piece there. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. Listening there. Don't go anywhere. The John LeBang Show is going to be right back. Just ask the hillbilly.
That's right. Right after this.
What about me? Maybe next time.
CRRM, CarePoint Billing Services. Their billers and managers are all dedicated to working for you to increase your profits. For more information, call CRRM at 248-579-3805. CRRM, CarePoint Billing Services. Check out the new book from Derek Shelmerdine,
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
It tells the story of rock and roll from its roots right up until the mid-70s punk.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Not just the music, but also the events that shaped the music.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
It includes the backgrounds to recording sessions, singles, album releases, births and deaths, epic concerts, and festivals.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Shelmerdine has made a painstaking effort to document pretty much every event that would prove significant in shaping popular music.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Purchase the book at www.rockandrollunraveled.com. Follow him at Twitter at R&R Unraveled and look him up on Facebook at Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
By author Derek Shelmerdine.
Available now.
You're listening to the John LeBang Show.
Join the radio revolution right here.
It's better than some good Thai stick, man. Yes, I would like some too.
Speaking of alternative media, and we have AJ over there who's rooting for Trump. Just like I was saying, he's just the leader in it. And whatever AJ says, his followers just go along. And then we got Pete Sham Willie over there. He's back after being arrested. You know, it's funny how AJ and Pete Sham Willie over there, these guys have records, right? They've been arrested by the police. They could have been turned to be operatives. But they get so much recognition out of people. Far more than I even get. It's, you know, I don't see the allure in these guys. I turn them off most of the time. You know, in fact, I've gotten to the point, and this is going against my training, because I am of the belief that you listen to everybody, but you believe nothing unless you can prove it yourself. William Cooper ingrained that in me. But there's so much garbage news, lame news. Yeah, you know, it's not fake news anymore, ladies and gentlemen. It's lame news. And it's on all sides of the political spectrum. It even covers the alternative media. On any given day, you could have any one of these headlines, and they're all boring. Trump was going to fire Mueller, but didn't. Ooh, that's what they call news. That was news this week, ladies and gentlemen. The mainstream media got all bent out of shape because Trump probably was gonna fire Mueller, but he didn't. And that was news. Nothing came of it. Nothing happened. Nothing at all. Now it's news, and that could be considered obstruction. He didn't do it. Other average, typical news items that we get in the everyday headlines: Russian probes continues with no end in sight and no evidence. Another pervert takes advantage of a naive wannabe Hollywood fairy princess. More sports athletes do something irrelevant at work. These are the typical headlines. I'm using my own words, but this is what we see all the time. This is all the news has. They think this is important. We're going to get to some important stuff here, ladies and gentlemen. But I'm doing a little exercise in showing how lame the mainstream news is. It's no longer fake news. It's lame news. How about this one? Unknown scientist does something to make themselves feel important. Trans something or other engages in weird acts of strangeness none of us want to see or hear about. Then you got the protest. Oh, let's not forget the all men suck headlines. Then we got the politicians make deals that benefit their interest headlines. You know, am I missing something, ladies and gentlemen? Everyone listening out there, please chime in. I want to know, are there other headlines I might be missing? Mom's a scumbag and leaves her children at home alone. We get that one. Or leave them in a car, right? We get that a lot too. It's the same news over and over. Different names, different cities, same garbage. Yet they don't talk about, or very few talk about, some of the most important issues. Employee who sent false alarm in Hawaii missile alert is refusing to cooperate with the FCC investigation. That's not making big news. Here's a guy who scared the heck, or a lady. We don't know. They won't tell us who this person is. But here's a person who frightened an entire state of people. And now it's being portrayed as a oops-a-boo-boo, but they don't want to cooperate with the investigation. Then, of course, we got the Trump declares the U.S. open for business in Davos as he tells global bigwigs America's first does not mean America alone. So we're having nationalism with a touch of globalism. Yeah, that's a... Of course, that doesn't entirely work with what he was saying during the election. And we're not going to get criticism out of the Sean Hannity's or the alt media. We'll get plenty out of the mainstream manufactured news like CNN. That's what they do. When their guy's not in office, the other guy's a bad guy. He sucks. He's just a racist, sexist, homophobe, all that kind of stuff. Another headline that happened this week: Chinese scientists clone monkeys using the same method that Dolly the sheep was made. So now they're cloning monkeys in China because if you want to do something heinous and anti-human, you want to go to China to do it because they let you do everything. They don't care. Just give them the money. Hey, perform whatever experiment you want. You want to transplant somebody's head? Just give us some money. We're all good with that. Hey, human experiments are fine. Animal experiments are fine. Making iPhones and all these other gadgets that the West needs dearly. Have them made by cheap slave labor that get penny on the dollar for their time. And, it's just, you want to go to China to do all this because there's so much freedom in China to do this stuff. We also had the Doomsday Clock move forward. Yep, those irrelevant scientists say it's now 2 minutes to midnight. I think that's an Iron Maiden song, isn't it? 2 minutes to midnight. And they say it's a symbolic hour for the apocalypse. Hey, I don't disagree. We're in a bad place in this world. But we don't need irrelevant scientists who do nothing that benefit us that I can tell at this point. The scientific community is no longer scientific. They're engineers, they're architects, they're doing something to create, turn, build. They don't do, there's not much discovery anymore. And that's really what science is, the study and the discovery of what happens naturally. Naturally. So when you're cloning monkeys, that's not natural. That's not science. You're an architect, you're an engineer, you're strange, you're evil. I don't know what you are, but you're not a scientist. So that's good, And then you realize that a lot of people or a lot of corporations want to go to China for some reason. And of course, then we got Trump, who's completely gone silent on the currency manipulation China does now that he's president. That's out the door. We don't hear about it anymore. Not a big thing. Barely talked about. Things change when these guys become president. They change, We have to understand that. I told you that I was going to be happy to get about 5% of what Trump promised. But that doesn't mean I'm going to sit back and let him go against his word and be like the mainstream media and the Fox News side of things, or like the alternative media who just has shut up about what is going on in the government. There are things happening right now under the Trump administration that we're going to talk about after the break that makes Obama look like a nice guy. But we're not paying attention to that. We're not paying attention to that in the alt media. Trump's doing great. Trump's doing great. And I'll agree, he's done some positive things, or at least things I think that are positive, but I'm not going to let him get away with breaking his campaign promises. I'm not the Democrat media, okay? I'm not the mainstream manufactured news who just buys into the government line when it's their guy in office. I actually thought the alternative media and the right-wing media, they want to call it, had a little more integrity. But no, they're just follower-longers, just like anybody else. Trump's out there with his pipe, or I'm sorry, his flute, and the rats are just following. And I like Trump better than I like Obama. 100 times better. Not to say I like Trump. There's a lot not to like about Trump. But that's the Democrats' fault for throwing Hillary up there, and Bernie for that matter. Throw somebody worth a crap up there, and Trump probably wouldn't be in office right now. Anyways, folks, up against another break. How the hour always flies when you're listening to the John LeBang Show. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. Listening there. Don't go anywhere. The John LeBang Show is going to be right back. Just ask the hillbilly.
That's right. Right after this.
What about me? Maybe next time.
Fans, do you need a video for your brand new song but don't have a lot of money? Then contact John LeBang. His reasonable rates, professional look, and fast turnarounds will help get that song off the ground. Contact him at jlebang.com.
Powerful, epic music by Toothbox Roll. Life-changing lyrics come in every style, empowering humanity to finally unlock the chains of bondage. Experience the edgy side of positive music and rock your world today. From Primal to Divine, available now at sassyalternativemusic.com.
Hey, man, it's at the bottom of the hour, man. Do you know where your kids are, man?
Forces of darkness, the treasonable minds who collaborate must, can, and will be wiped from the face of the earth.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the second half of this first hour of the John LeBang Show. This is going to go out to all my alt media colleagues out there. Alex, AJ, if you're listening, please look into this. Pete, Sham Willie, look into this, please. Anybody else who's important, because we all know John LeBang is not important in the alternative media. But so anybody who's important out there in the alt world, or Sean Hannity, if you want to look at this, come on, let's talk about this, because this is happening under Trump. ICE agents. ICE is about to start tracking license plates across the United States. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. ICE, the Immigrations and Custom Enforcement Agency, has officially gained agency-wide access to a national license database recognition program, according to a contract finalized earlier this month. The system gives the agency access to billions of license plate records and new powers of real-time location tracking. It raises concerns for me because this is something he railed against. Oh, Obama was wiretapping. Obama was looking into everything. But see, here's the thing. We're going to continue with this story. This here, the alternative media, because Trump was their boy, and immigration is a big thing on that side of the aisle. It is for me too. I'm an immigrant son. So I know all about immigration and how to do it properly. But because it's about immigration, the alt-right, Hannity, Fox News, all those guys, every single one of those agencies are turning a blind eye to the fact that they're going to be able to track anyone via license plate, even if it's not in an immigration situation. And then they can share this data with whoever they want. The source of the data is not named in the contract, but an ICE representative said the data came from Vigilant Solutions, the leading network for license plate recognition data. Quote, like most other law enforcement agencies, ICE uses information obtained from license plate readers as one tool in support of its investigations. Vigilant Solutions has amassed a database of more than 2 billion license plate photos by investigating data from partners like vehicle repossession agencies and other private groups. 2 billion license plates. 2 billion. Ladies and gentlemen, there are only 370 million people inside the entire United States. That's a lot of license plates that they've gathered. Shows you the range of their power. And you see all these street corners now are getting the cameras. Where do you think that's going? Where do you think that information is going? Vigilant also partners with local law enforcement agencies, often collecting even more data from camera-equipped police cars. The result is a massive vehicle tracking network generating as many as 1 million sightings per month. 1 million sightings per month. ICE needs this authority. Each tagged with a date, time, and GPS coordinates of the sighting. ICE agents would be able to query that database in 2 ways. A historical search would turn up every place a given license plate has been spotted in the last 5 years. And a detailed record of the target's movement. Note, ladies and gentlemen, that they're not saying the targets are illegal immigrants. The data could be used to find a given subject's residence or even identify associates if a given car is regularly spotted in a specific parking lot. So this border immigration issue is being turned inward on us. And we're talking about a border wall that was supposed to be paid for by Mexico, but is not. And they want to put up a border wall. Do they want to keep people out or do they want to keep people in? And the police state gets bigger under Trump. And where's the alt media on this? AJ, where are you at this? We know you're a big Donald Trump supporter. We know it. But this, 2 years ago, you would have been all over, buddy. And it's nothing. Quiet, silence. Pete Shamwillie over there, who just got out of jail, criminal, top to bottom criminal. And people listen to him more than they listen to me. He's got a big, huge following. You know why? Because he plays the same game AJ plays, and that's shock value radio. And you can get people to listen with shock value radio. I don't go for the shock just to get you to listen. If I'm in shock mode, that's because I'm riled up about something and I need to tell you about it. As we continue with the story, ICE agents can also receive instantaneous email alerts whenever a new record of a particular plate is found. A system known internally as the hot list. It's so hot. These are people they want to find right away. The same alerts can also be funneled to Vigilance iOS app. According to the privacy assessment, as many as 2,500 license plates could be uploaded to the hot list in a single batch. Although the assessment does not detail how often new batches can be added, could be every 5 minutes, every minute, every hour, they don't tell us. With sightings flooding in from police dash cams, stationary readers on bridges, toll booths, street corners, anywhere they can stick a camera, it would be hard for anyone on the list to stay unnoticed for long. And if they're deporting people that aren't supposed to be here, that's all right. But see, the database, ladies and gentlemen, is so large. And guess where this database comes from? A private company. Who else uses this database? Well, Homeland Security uses this database. They issued a privacy assessment update of license reader technology. A move, it explained, was necessary because ICE has now entered into a contract with a vendor. And the biggest concern I have, ladies and gentlemen, if ICE were to propose a system that would do what Vigilant does, there would be huge privacy uproar coming from the people, and Congress probably wouldn't approve it. But because it's a private contract, ladies and gentlemen, they can sidestep that entire process. They can blur it out. The people don't have to know where it's coming from. Congress doesn't have to approve of it. Nothing. Now let's go into a companion story, if I may. This is on my website, www.jlebang.com. Go to the show prep link and you can check that out, along with all the other stuff I'm talking about here tonight. The agency tells a federal judge that it is investigating and sincerely regrets its failure. The National Security Agency destroyed surveillance data it pledged to preserve in connection with pending lawsuits and apparently never took some steps to save them. And now the federal court has to was informed, I should say, that the information was destroyed, and now they're going to have to try to find it somehow. Just like the Hillary emails. Word of the NSA follow-up is emerging just as Congress has extended for 6 years the legal authority the agency uses for much of its surveillance work conducted throughout the U.S. internet providers and tech firms. And DT signed that measure into law on a Friday. So the NSA is pulling a Hillary. Trump is saying, hey, even though I had a whole bunch of wiretaps on me, it's okay to wiretap everybody else. It's not okay to wiretap me. Now, is this a good or bad thing? If they lost all these records, maybe they lost stuff that they shouldn't have had, which is a good thing, I think, maybe. But if they lost it because it's involved in some of these pending court cases with the NSA, that's pretty shady. But we have precedents, folks. All they have to say is they fouled up, they screwed up, they didn't know they weren't supposed to do that. They can pull a Hillary and get out of trouble, because Hillary and the FBI and the Department of Justice set precedents when they didn't prosecute her and they let her go because, oh, you know what? She made an honest mistake deleting 33,000 emails and having her own private server. She made an honest mistake and it's no big deal. So now anybody, and I mean anybody in the government from here on out, can use that as an argument to protect themselves. They don't even need to plead the Fifth anymore. See, the Fifth made you sound guilty. That's what I plead the Fifth Amendment. You know, the entire Obama administration pleaded the Fifth when they were called in the hearings. Oh, I plead the Fifth. I can't say that. Trump, give him some credit, folks. He says he'll do it under oath under the Mueller investigation. I tell him to use the Fifth the whole time. That's what the entire Obama administration did when the investigations were turned on them. I plead the Fifth. I plead the Fifth. I plead the Fifth. It's just ridiculous, folks. So that's what Trump should probably do when those hearings happen. All right, folks, we got to take our next time out. On the other side of this, we have a little bit more to give you. Hopefully you're enjoying it. We'll be right back.
Where do you think you're going?
The John LeBang Show will be right back.
So grab a beer and a smoke and sit your butt back down.
Stay right here. If you are elderly, disabled, receiving SSI or Medicaid, and you have a medical need or require assistance with daily housework, shopping, grooming, medication, you may qualify for housekeeping at no cost. Call now. VIP Home Healthcare, 248-579-3805. VIP Home Healthcare, there when you need them. That's 248-579-3805.
You know, if you're getting married soon and you need good entertainment, you need to contact John LeBang. He's got 30 years of experience of wedding entertainment under his belt, and there is no one better and no one cheaper. He's running a special to the end of the year, $500 for your wedding if you book now. Contact John LeBang by email at jlebang@live.com or go to his website. That's www.jlebang.com.
Pane in the Glass, commercial and residential window cleaning for a beautiful sparkling shine that's crystal clear. Call Pane in the Glass Window Cleaning. You can find them on Facebook at Pane in the Glass.
If you want to contact the John LeBang Show, feel free to send an email to jlebang@live.com. And if you're on Twitter, look him up at John LeBang. And don't forget to go to his Facebook page at The John LeBang Show. Banger. Now here's John.
And before we get to CERN, I'd just like to say that I'm working on a report on the flu that is just spreading like crazy around the nation and taking the lives of many young children. But we're not ready to bring you that report yet. We'll leave the immediate breaking news to the mainstream manufactured news and the fake alternative media, the ones that use the mainstream manufactured news to get their reports, and then they just turn them into videos and act like it's their report. So we'll have something probably next week on that. I didn't want you to think I was neglecting a very important issue, because it's something that needs a little bit more research, and we don't want to jump the gun. It's very much like when the Ebola thing happened. I was about a week ahead of the game, and I missed a couple things because I was trying to be a little bit more ahead of the game. Although the research was good, the things I missed were warnings I should have been able to give you that I just didn't include in that broadcast. And I want to be as thorough as possible. That being said, let's get to this thing called CERN. A lot of people do not know what this is. People who follow scientific data, scientific experiments are very well acquainted with CERN. CERN itself is the world's biggest machine. Straddling the French-Swiss border, the $9 billion CERN Collider complex is buried at a depth of up to 575 feet. The tunnel complex runs along a 17-mile circuit. Scientists involved in the project say the laboratory was built underground because the Earth's crust provides protection against quote-unquote radiation. They also say it was buried out of respect for the natural landscape. Who cares if that landscape gets radiated as long as it looks pretty, folks? Another aspect of CERN is it causes a massive gravitational pull. The CERN Collider is composed of some 9,600 supermagnets, which are 100 times more powerful than the gravity pull of the Earth. Now just imagine that, folks. This machine, it fires protons around a circular track that is at mind-boggling speeds, ladies and gentlemen. A beam might rotate for up to 10 hours, traveling a distance of more than 10 billion kilometers. That's enough to make it to the far reaches of our solar system and back again. Now, it travels just below the speed of light. The protons in the LHC will make 11,245 circuits every second. Now, no less amazing are the magnet coils, which are made up of 36 twisted 15-millimeter strands, each strand comprised in turn of 6,000 to 9,000 single filaments. Each filament possesses a diameter as small as 17 micrometers. The 27-kilometer length of the LHC demands some 7,600 kilometer or 4,100 miles of cable, which amounts to about 27,000 kilometers of strand. It's more than enough to circle the Earth 6 times around the equator. According to the CERN website, if the filaments were unraveled, they would stretch to the sun and back 5 times with enough left over for a few trips to the moon. Mind-blowing, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? But that's not all the interesting stuff that is wrapped around CERN. CERN generates extreme temperatures. There may be another reason for the CERN Super Collider being buried hundreds of feet underground. The unbelievably hot temperatures it can reach, more than 100,000 times the temperature at the center of the sun. Can you believe that, ladies and gentlemen? So they made a machine that's hotter than the sun, goes the speed of light, phew, firing particles off. I'm just telling you about this. These are facts. People you might hold recognition for have expressed concern about this particle collider. Stephen Hawking, to name one. He says that the God particle found in CERN could destroy the universe. He's speculating, of course, but a lot of people think he's a smart guy. Now, if that's not enough to get you really interested in finding more out about CERN, let me throw this at you. It's speculated that it can open the door to other dimensions. That's where the whole Mandela thing comes in. 1 year after CERN's grand opening, Sergio Bertolucci, the former director of research and scientific computing of the facility, grabbed headlines when he told a British tabloid the Super Collider could open otherworldly doors to other dimensions for, not a whole long time, a very tiny lapse of time. mere fractions of a second. However, that may be just enough time, he says, to peer into this open door, either by getting something out of it, because scientists like to experiment no matter what it is, or sending something into it. For scientific study, we can do whatever we want. Now, that's not all. CERN's curious choice of geographical location, ladies and gentlemen. Now, on the top of all the speculation as to what CERN scientists are really attempting to do with their Large Hadron Collider, many observers could not help but notice that the town in France where CERN is partially located is called Saint-Genès-Polier. The name Polier comes from the Latin Apolliaceum, and is believed that in Roman times a temple existed in honor of Apollo. And the people who lived there believed that it is a gateway to the underworld. It is interesting to note that CERN is built on that same spot. But hey, let's go beyond that, okay? Religious leaders, always suspicious of the aims of the scientific world, drew a connection to the verse straight out of Revelations, which makes a reference to the name Apollyon. The verse states, "To him was given the key of the bottomless pit, and he opened the bottomless pit, and they had a kind over them, which is an angel from the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abandon, but in the Greek tongue, his name Apollyon." That doesn't stop the interesting things, ladies and gentlemen. They are trying to tap into dark matter there. Interestingly enough, astrophysical observations have demonstrated that all visible physical matter accounts for only 4% of the universe. Now the race is on at CERN to find those elusive particles or phenomena responsible for dark matter and dark energy. Essentially, what the CERN experiment hopes to achieve is to separate, by the way of the atom smasher, the invisible dark matter. Now, just a couple more things before we get out of here. Go check out the CERN logo. It just happens to look like a 6 on top of a 6 on top of a 6. And they just continue to rotate. Go look at it. I'm not making it up. Check it out. Another observation you might want to look into: the deity of destruction is their corporate mascot. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Although most corporations shun any connection with religion and the spiritual world, CERN has chosen as its mascot a Hindu goddess. But not just any Hindu goddess, ladies and gentlemen. Just outside of its headquarters building sits an ancient statue to Shiva, the goddess of destruction. Not to be all down on poor CERN there. We don't want to constantly point out all the bad. CERN has been the trailblazer on a number of other highly credible projects, which may tempt people to give them some benefit of the doubt regarding CERN itself, which in itself ranks as one of the most comprehensive and extensive scientific experiments in history. In 1989, under the guidance of Tim Berners-Lee, CERN began the World Wide Web project, which led to the first web page in history. On April 30th, 1993, CERN announced that the World Wide Web would be free to everyone. So there you go. CERN brought us the internet to tie us all together. CERN is bringing us particle acceleration. CERN looks like they're trying to tap into other dimensions and find out what dark matter is. CERN is tampering with things we've never tampered with before. They're generating, greater heat than the core of the sun. Just awesome. All for science, folks, all for science. And if something goes wrong, we probably won't know because it'll happen so fast, we'll just be erased. That, of course, is my speculation there. Don't want to, make that sound like it's fact. I'm just speculating that tampering with things we don't know and are probably not meant to tamper with, that could cause some ill effects. But what do I know? I'm just John LeBang. I'm not Alex Jones or Pete Shamwillie. I'm not Sean Hannity. All right, folks. We have come up against the end of the first hour. I hope you enjoyed it. I was a little snarky, I guess, this hour. But hope you had a good time. Don't forget to go to my website. That's www.jlebang.com. Just like to mention that we picked up 3 new affiliates, and you can go to the website that I just mentioned there and find out the times and days and what the stations are right there. With that being said, the first hour is over. Stay tuned for the second hour. We've got author and rock and roll historian Derek Shelmerdine joining us for another great installment of Rock and Roll Unraveled. And with that being said, folks, this is John LeBang signing off for now from the Banger Studios. See you next hour.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have liftoff. Tune in again next week. Same time, same space, same station.
Resistance is futile.
Ladies, it doesn't matter if it's morning, noon, or night. Whether you've worked all day or you just woke up. If you got the thirst, just wet your lips on a BJ. BJ beer, brewed right here in the great state of Michigan. Who wants a BJ?
Hello, are you a single lady who really wants to remain independent, but still wants the security of having a man do all the hard and nasty things you need? Then call Hubby for Hire. We're in the business of servicing you, and there's nothing we won't do. If it's just something simple as taking care of your kitty cat, or something a bit more difficult like cleaning the cobwebs that have been building up for years, it doesn't matter. Our trained professionals have the right tools for the job. Just look us up on Facebook. That's Hubby for Hire. We can fix anything. Guaranteed.